Hello and welcome. This is Rooflemonger, my friends. Today we are looking at Pocket Bravery. Now this is a game we've actually covered on the channel before, but unlike before, the game is now actually out. It actually went into proper full release just a few days ago. So when we covered it, it was more in early access. The game was not quite as done, and now the game is done. And I can tell you right now, as far as fighting games go, this is a fully featured fighting game with all the things you would expect, and maybe a few things more. So I guess let's just start at the top here. What kind of fighting game is Pocket Bravery? So Pocket Bravery is a 2D pixel art based fighting game. And yes, this is proper pixel art, no 3D models here, and is very much both in terms of the graphics and style, a throwback, but also in terms of gameplay as well. Very much paying homage to some older classical fighting games like, say, the King of Fighters franchise. Although, don't get me wrong, because Breakers, as you can see, is also represented here. But it very much is its own thing. So let's talk about what the core of Pocket Bravery is. 2D fighting game, obviously enough. But what kind of game is it? Well, it's a 4-button game, first all. So light punch, light kick, heavy kick. That kind of game. And yes, being inspired by the classics, there is proximity normals. So the closer you are to the enemy, your attacks may change, just FYI. And naturally as well, of course, all sorts of special moves, because, you know, it's a fighting game, right? That's how you do. So on the basics, it's what you would expect, right? Other than, obviously, the very distinct art style, very striking aesthetic of the game, which, you know, you don't really see so much these days, right? Now, one of the things that's a bit different about this game, outside of the usual stuff you would expect, right? You know, chain lights, going to, you know, specials, all that kind of stuff, right? Is the meter system. So we do have a super meter, that is our orange meter, and you take your super meter and you spend on super moves, naturally enough, right? Sometimes they're strike supers or projectiles and, you know, all the kind of things you would expect. Sometimes they're a bit more involved character to character, like, say, you know, some go-go Gaijin magic, right? So everything is character to character, and you can see right beside the glowing super meter is for our characters here. For Malika, we have some glowing fire. For Sebastian, some ice, right? So this is your element meter, and this is effectively your EX gauge, which is separate from your super gauge. And you take what this is, the effective EX meter, and it can wildly change your moves, and in ways you don't necessarily expect. Like, say here for Shimena, so quarter circle forward punch, fireball. Easy enough, right? So if I burn the meter, the element meter, is that an EX fireball? Well, no, not quite. It's actually double strike launcher, not quite just EX fireball. Another example for Shimena, she's our effective zoner, right? So she has teleports, as you do. So EX teleport, what's that? Well, it's actually a giant strike explosion. So in this game specifically, just because you enhance a move, it's not necessarily just, you know, that move plus, right? The same move that does a bit more damage. A lot of characters in this game, if you enhance their moves, you actually get completely different moves that have completely different uses and properties. Now, let me show you where this game gets a little bit different in terms of how everything works. Obviously, you know, once again, the usual flow, hit your buttons, control neutral, do your special moves, all that kind of stuff, right? And then, you know, it wouldn't be a shocker, like I can do normals, canceled into a special move, and then naturally, of course, I can do my special into a super, because that's fighting game 101, right? Very rare is the fighting game where you can't do something like that. But what really opens up this game, compared to other fighting games, is the fact that you can take a special move, like the shoulder that we showed earlier, right? And not just go into a super, but you can also go into an EX. So, Ndidi here, he is our big boy. He's got a command grab, right? And of course, naturally, he's got an EX command grab, right? And the EX command grab is a bounce, so you can combo after the fact, which is very handy. So now we can take that combo we did earlier, we can special cancel our shoulder into the command grab, and keep going. And there we go, right? So we burn some of our meter to do so. It's not free. To cancel a special into an EX, takes the EX meter, takes half your meter, but also takes half of a super bar as well. So just keep that in mind. It is more expensive than just doing it regularly, because, you know, that's very strong. And as we mentioned earlier, that EX grab, we can definitely cancel after it and just do more specials, right? So there we go. We got a hit confirm into a special into an EX, and then we use that EX to go into even more specials. And yeah, keep in mind, that second special, you can still EX cancel it again, right? Like, you're allowed to keep doing it as long as you have the meter to do so. So now basic hit confirm getting more complex, as you can see. He has a ground pound move, Endity, and the EX version is basically this big stone pillar which juggles. And hey, if we got meter and we're juggling anyways, and all of a sudden, hey, we can get some pretty wild stuff going, right? So we use 2 EXs in the combo, canceling from specials. And after that second EX, because we had the bounce anyways, why not go for a super, right? And of course, there's all sorts of supers as well. Our big boy here, Endity, he has a big grab super as well, because he's a very big boy, as you can tell, right? So yeah, the freedom combo expression of this game is really cool. And while we're showcasing moves anyways, every character has like a super desperation super as well, where it gets cinematic to say the least. As you can tell here, everyone's is pretty dramatic and the animations are actually really fantastic. And Diddy is the master of the elements, and he can summon all the elements to put a beating on you. Like say Hector here. So Hector is our big nasty guy, right? And when I mentioned there's some King of Fighters references, he's got some King of Fighter stuff. Not the least of which is he's a stance character. And he gets that wild Leona in him when he's sassed up and in his wolf stance. And while he's in the wolf stance, his dramatic super is extra dramatic, I feel. He drags you around, obviously beating the tar out of you, and showcasing a little bit of supernatural wolfiness, right? So he's interesting. And once again, all these characters got very interesting supers. But yeah, so that's kind of the basics of just the gameplay systems. I guess the other thing to mention is when it comes to combo flow, the game's also very much like King of Fighters. So a lot of getting full combos from lights, because you're allowed to do that. A lot of being able to combo into command grabs, because you can do that, and combo from command grabs from lights as well. There's a proper linking system as well. So that was 3 crouch light kicks into crouch fierce punch. So if you can link it, if the frames allow it, you can do it. And some of the better combos also involve links, and they're kind of tough, but you know, that's kind of how it has to be, right? Now, mentioning links and all that kind of stuff, the one thing that makes finding that a lot easier in this game is we got all the details. So hey, info with frame data. How plus on hit is crouch light kick? Oh, plus 11, that's pretty good. So naturally, there we go, we can link in the crouch heavy punch. And yes, we got all the fixins. So when it comes to like, you know, inputs, we got the classics, and also you can have it arcade style. So whatever works for you in that regard, that works out. And hey, also, why not? We got hitboxes. Not a lot of games are brave enough to have hitboxes in the actual game itself, but Pocket Bravery is. So if we want to see the hitboxes on our combos, easy as you please, and that's awesome. Now, thankfully, if you're all about your combo stuff, I do have to say there is a combo trial in the game. As you would expect, lots of games have combo trials, but this is the best one I've seen in a very long time. Yes, it'll teach you combo theory, like what works for what character, all that kind of stuff, but it also evokes, I'm not going to say it's exactly like it, so don't quote me on that, but it evokes the King of Fighters 13 combo trials, in that some of the later combos for some of the other characters are very involved and quite difficult to pull off. So you can see here, this is trial 1 for Shimena, right? Not exactly the most difficult combo in the world. But if we up the difficulty a little bit here on later trials, so let's take a trial like this later one here for Hadassah. So this one involves multiple restands into dash, into tight link, into restand into dash, into tight link, into restand into dash, into tight link, right? So stuff like this will challenge you, to say the least. And a lot of characters have trials like this. So at the very least, if you're interested in difficult combo trials, this game definitely has stuff to offer you. Like some of these, I tried to do this one before the video and I couldn't wrap my head around it. This is not my kind of character, right? But yeah, they get pretty involved and they get pretty tricky. So like if you're looking for fun combo trials, because there hasn't been a game in a long time that has like really fun combo trials, at bare minimum, Pocket Bravery has it for you. So that's some of the core fighting game stuff. Let's talk some other options we have available to us, notably single player content. So as you can see here, there is a story mode, there is arcade mode, and if you're looking for it, we also have stuff like survival. I'm always a fan of survival myself. I don't know, I like survival. And time attack, right? And I guess at this point I should note here, the game retails for $25 Canadian on Steam, so I'm assuming that'll be $19.99 American. And what you get is fairly sizable. Obviously, the fighting game stuff, all the characters, all the matching, and obviously online play and all that. And yes, it is rollback netcode, and we'll get to that in a moment. One thing though, just to mention, the story mode itself is actually sizable, surprisingly so. So yes, there is arcade mode, and you travel the world, do all that stuff, and every character has their own unique ending. And my understanding is, within the context of the story, every ending is canonical, by the way. But the story mode is actually pretty big, much bigger than I was anticipating. So much more than just a plain arcade mode, the story mode is basically a visual novel with some tutorialization of the characters. And story mode follows some specific characters. You don't just pick who you want to go forward. There's actually like a grand plan, if you will, for the story. So I don't want to give away too much in the story as far as that's concerned. You know, play the game, see the story for yourself. A big part of the story is Nuno, who is effectively the protagonist, and crew against the evil Hector, who's not a nice guy. He's the Wolfman we talked about earlier in the video. And yeah, once again, I don't want to give too much away, but it was a lot more than I thought it was going to be. Cutscenes, visual novel stuff, obviously, you know, fighting as well. Just certainly a lot more than I was expecting for a $20 fighting game on Steam. Let's put it that way. Now, let's talk the roster really quick. So, this roster is not the biggest roster you'll ever see, but once again, this is an indie game. Also, 2D hand-animated sprite artwork, which is a lot harder to do these days than, you know, just the 3D stuff you see all the time, right? So, small roster forgiven, and especially because it covers basically every archetype you could hope for. One thing I do like here, and this is the training mode menu, you can hit triangle, and you can see here, okay, here's what, you know, the basics of what my characters are about, right? What they're looking for, here's some core moves for the character. So you can see here, Nuno, he's balanced, right? Compare that to like Archevin here, and he's the big boy grappler. Russian grappler? Who ever heard of that in a fighting game, right? And also, just really small, but I do like that there's a good deal of representation in this game for not as popular countries. Like our boy Sebastian is from Scotland. I can't even think of a Scottish fighting game character off the top of my head. There's a couple from Ireland, and Ireland has some weird representatives themselves, but yeah, so Scotland, that's really cool. Ndidi is from Nigeria. That's a pretty rare pick in fighting games. Malika is from India, and you know, seeing someone from India in a fighting game that's not Dalsum, that's kind of cool. Given the game was developed in Brazil, we definitely got some Brazil reps. Let's put it that way, right? We got 3 characters from Brazil, and we have Jamina, who is also from Mexico. I don't know, it just, as a longtime fighting game player, it's a little refreshing to see that, you know, 90% of the cast isn't some mix-up from America, from China, from Japan, right? So I just like that. It's little things, but I like that. And there's just a lot of good variety in the characters, like what they can do. Obviously, like Ndidi, big boy, does big boy things. We went over that earlier. We got Rushdown, we got Mix-Up, we got Zoners, we got all that stuff. We got some tricky characters here, like Malika, I think is very interesting. So she has, like, say, Chizuru style illusions, I guess the word you can go for, right? So she can either like stay in place and do hops and or do fake outs. And one thing is about placing the projectiles on screen. So they're basically big traps, and if you go into the trap, you get hit. Sure enough, right? You can place them high, and you can also teleport to them and do aerial attacks. Or if your ground is just a straight teleport, you can start doing attacks right away, right? So there's very tricky stuff here, which I find interesting. I guess this is the part where I come back to it as well, since we're talking about characters that shows in the game. So yeah, this is a guest character. Show of Breakers and Breakers Revenge fame. Now, if you're younger, you probably don't know those games, but the Breakers franchise is a classic 2D fighting game, and it's a really good game. It's kind of broken a lot of the ways classic 2D games are, I suppose, but it's fun. So, as you can see here, the stage as well, he has his own stage, including my boy Condor right here in the background. And Show, well, Show. He can do all the Show things. He has all of his moves that you would expect, right? Including, you know, classic fireballs, all that stuff. He's a bit of a Shoto-style character. And yeah, so even in this indie game, we have classic guest characters showing up. But yeah, in the end, the cast is very fun. Everyone has their very distinct roles, good archetypes. Perhaps in a later video down the road, we might go more in depth them. But I like the roster of this game. And as mentioned earlier in the video, of course, there is online play. You have casual matchmaking, ranked matchmaking, you make rooms, all the kind of stuff. All you would expect, right? And yes, it is GGPO netcode, so quality rollback online. Now, in my time with the game, I didn't get to play online too much just yet because I'm awake at bad hours, honestly. But so far, in my limited experience with the game, the online seems to work, and that's basically all you really need to do. The online needs to work. That's the single most core important part of a fighting game, that you can play online and feels like you're playing the game without being hampered by the online. And in that, so far, I found the game to be a success. And besides all that, there's all a bunch of extras, because I know people like extras in fighting games, and you have that, right? You can unlock all sorts of arts, you can unlock sounds, videos, there is a shop where you can unlock characters, as not every character is unlocked right away. You do have to go through story mode for some, or unlock others through money. I need some more money for George right now, myself. And yes, all sorts of fun things like colors. Everyone loves colors, and you might notice some of these colors might be reminiscent of some other characters from some other games. Like say our boy Hector. What could that be? Who knows? What could that be? Who knows? Hey, wait a second. Am I seeing something? Oh, maybe it's just my imagination. But basically, yeah, there's quite a few references in a lot of the colors, and they're all pretty fun, and I dig them quite a bit, so have fun with them because there's a lot there. And that's about it. So one of the other things I really like about the game is just the stages. The stages have like King of Fighters 94 style intros, where before you get to the fight, you'll see something that gives like some extra color to the stage. And I'm a really big fan of that. If I had any nitpicks, not much, especially because once again, this is not a full price game. This game is about $20 American, right? So that's really good considering the overall package you get. But input wise, the one quibble I do have, maybe this is modern fighting games making me soft, but the amount of slop you have, the input stuff, like especially on charge moves, is quite a bit lower than say it is in like Street Fighter 6. You have to be very on the ball with your timings, otherwise you might drop a move. You have to be very fast, especially moves that have like a double quarter circle forward or whatever in the motion. If you are using say Street Fighter timing, you'll probably be too slow in this game. This game demands some speed from you. And that's fine to a degree, but the problem is, say you're too fast. So in Diddy has a command grab super, I think we talked about that earlier in the video, right? And it's double quarter circle back, which is fine in and of itself. But on the player 2 side, double quarter circle back, I can do that a lot faster than I can on the player 1 side. And what that means is I wind up backdashing a lot of the time because I'm just doing it so fast, right? And if I'm backdashing, I'm not getting my button press off for my super. Now, thankfully, I did figure out a way to solve this in that the game allows slop on the inputs in some ways. So if I do my motion here and I wind up doing backdash, I'm allowed to basically end in down back, and I will get the super that way. So I have to avoid hitting back the second time because I'm too fast for my own good on that, right? But I don't know. It feels like it's a step that's not necessary. I don't know what you can do to fix it other than maybe don't have the motion, have the backdash in it, right? Go double quarter circle forward because he doesn't have double quarter circle forward super anyways. So seems an easy switch to me, but I don't know. That's just me. And that's really my only quibble for the game considering the price and the overall package that you're getting. I think for the dollar, the value add is actually quite incredible overall. And other than that, well, that's it. So this is not a review of the game or anything like that, just an overview just to show you what the game is like. And so far, 2 thumbs up from me. I'm pretty impressed with everything. I like the package, I like the characters, I think they're fun. I really like Ndidi. He's my kind of character, he's definitely a big boy. So yeah, the game is now live. It was only released just the other day on Steam, so check it out if you want. It will be on console not too long from now. And my understanding is from the developers that they said is there is intention to be full crossplay between PC and console. So that is also awesome. I dig that. And well, I guess that's the end of the video. So thank you very much for watching. Hope this video has found you well, and go out and play some Pocket Bravery.